I'm Johnny and welcome to the Ginger Geek Show. So this is going to be the first of, I think, quite a few videos I'm going to do of simply taking my favourite franchises or TV shows and simply talking about their future. Now, each video will be kind of broken down into kind of three sections. The first bit will be kind of talking about where that franchise or TV show is right now. Second bit will be kind of more the meat and potatoes really of talking about what I would like to actually see in the future for the said franchise or TV show, and then the last bit is what I think actually is going to happen, which probably will be stuff that I probably don't want to see, but it's just more I think sadly maybe will happen. So yeah, this one, as the title suggests, will be talking about Power Rangers. So let's talk about it then. What's next for Power Rangers? So to be blunt on what's happening with Power Rangers is it's kind of in a limbo stage right now. It's weird. There hasn't really been any form of kind of discussion of the show since basically kind of around kind of Cosmic Fury, and then the strikes obviously was happening. So there was quite a lot that was kind of going on at the one time. As of kind of right now, as I've said, this seems to be in a limbo stage. There was obviously, as we know, they were planning on doing the reboot. My personal opinion on this reboot, I don't think it's happening at all. I'll tell you why. Netflix alone has been cancelling so many shows since the strike, and my personal belief is I don't think, as of right now, Netflix is going to be confident in rebooting a 30-year-old show that's very niche to a certain market. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think, even if you reboot it of a darker tone, which for me is not Power Rangers. The reason why I like Power Rangers is, as much as I kind of fell off Power Rangers and I kind of came back to it more for nostalgia reasons, but it's got that charm, and it's got that low budget charm. It's a bit like with Doctor Who, and why I kind of always prefer the classic era. It's something about that will always prevail with the new stuff. I don't know why, but it just does. And the reboot, what they talk about is it's just not for me, and I don't think I've got an interest in it. And the folk that do, I don't get it, because it's just that's not what Power Rangers is, whether you like to hear that or not. But that seems to be, as of right now, there hasn't been any talk about the reboot for quite some time since the strike. So there might be still, obviously, discussions. There might be just simply writing it right now, but there just doesn't seem to be kind of much to kind of chew on in terms of what's happening. My personal belief is it is very much just in a limbo stage. The toy line is even dead, which I think is such a shame. They made it very clear that Cosmic Fury was meant to be the end of that series, which I think is a bit of a shame, of that continuity, sorry, which I think is a bit of a shame. So I don't know, but as of right now, as I says, what's happening with Power Rangers, it's just simply in a limbo stage. So what I would actually like to see from the Power Rangers is pure and simply, and this is going to sound complete fan service of a show, and simply I like to call it Power Rangers Legacy. I would like it to be 3 seasons long, very much like Cosmic Fury, where it's 10 episodes each season, and kind of keep the same tone of Cosmic Fury and Once and Always, where it's not, what I liked about that little time period was, as much as it was a kid show, I don't know if it's because it was shown on Netflix, where they could push it a little bit, and I quite like that, and I think they should kind of keep that tone. I'm not crazy about the reboot, as I've already said. I don't really care about having it R-rated, and I don't really want this, this show that I'm thinking of to be that, and I think it should keep that kind of tone of what Power Rangers is, but make it a little bit more kind of growing up a little bit. I don't need blood and guts and swear words coming from Power Rangers. That's just not the show that I loved. So what would this show entail? Well, as I says, it'll be I would like it to be, it's 3 seasons long, and I think it'd be cool to kind of bridge the whole show together. So first of all is the kind of time period. Now, they do a really great job in Cosmic Fury, where they clearly set up that SPD is, as we all know, it was always set in 2025, which is quite scarily coming up. Where I would set the show is about 2030, so 5 years after SPD, which means you could have people like who played Bridge and Sky, who both look pretty damn good, I must say, actually, for when you think they appeared in 2005, sorry, and they still look good. So they've had at least 5 years of the actual show to kind of age up a bit, but they could still pull it off. So I think you should set it there where they can incorporate the SPD, because reason why, the main character I think for this whole show should be JJ, the son of Tommy and Kat. Now, if you read the Boom comics, which I don't personally, but I can at least know this happens, and I think this is cool, and I would incorporate into the show, is the fact that he becomes the Green Ranger of SPD. I think that's fantastic, and I think that would really work. Now, in terms of incorporating, what seasons should be incorporated? Now, this is going to be more just what I loved, I'm not going to lie. And I think also just the general consensus is I'm not the only one that kind of feels like this, so I would include in some form the Mighty Morphin Cast, In Space, Time Force, and SPD, with a couple of other kind of wee bits and bobs of characters appearing from other kind of seasons, but more just kind of focused on them. And I think you could have it like each season has more focus on a certain kind of show of those seasons. In terms of what I would do with each season and how I would kind of progress them a little bit. So Mighty Morphin, I would really only bring Billy with David Yost, who I really quite like. And Walter Jones in some capacity. The reason why I say this is because I think, especially the way they left with Cosmic Fury, the fact that the possibility that Zordon is back in some form, and that really quite ticks Billy, which I quite like, and they kind of leave it off. If they did continue, this is where they would maybe go. So, as I said, it's 2030, and Billy is now deemed the only Mighty Morphin Ranger that's in some form of active. Everyone else is either passed away or they're simply retired, and Billy is still just... He's almost kind of, what's the word to kind of describe it? He's possessed almost of trying to bring back Zordon. He's using all money and all resources to try and bring him back, and that's kind of where they are. And Zach is trying to kind of take him out a little bit. He's retired now of being a Power Ranger, and he's trying to bring him out, but Billy's just not kind of there. With the In Space stuff, which I think you could do some really fun stuff, is them trying to find Andros. So what I would quite like to see is after the death of Zordon and the countdown to destruction, is actually in time that mentally destroyed Andros. The fact that he was the one that killed Zordon. You could do some really strong, interesting stuff, I think, with this concept. It would be kind of in the similar vein with Luke Skywalker and the sequel trilogy, where he kind of became a bit of a hermit and he just kind of didn't want to be with anyone, and I think you could do some quite fun stuff there. And again, I think you could bring back most of the cast of In Space. I think especially TJ, at least. TJ, and I think... oh my god, have I forgotten her name? Andromeda? What's the Pink Ranger's? Not the Pink Ranger, but like Andros' sister. That's terrible. She's a really great character as well. I'm getting old. You know who I mean. That's terrible. You could do some fun stuff with her as well. So there's a couple in there I really like. Time Force, where I would actually... That's where the start, I think, of the season would begin, where you bring back Jen Scott, who is my favourite Pink Ranger. I've always loved Jen. I think she is fantastic, and I would really love to see more of her. But that's obviously in the future and way into the 3000s, and basically I would bring back Lord Zedd and bring him back properly, make him a proper villain where, like, I actually liked what they did in Cosmic Fury, but I was a bit kind of like, I wasn't kind of crazy how he was dealt with in the end. I like the idea, don't get me wrong, I do like the idea of him being trapped in a dimension and it's his worst nightmare is being stuck with Rita. I actually like that stuff. That does actually work by race. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to see like full powered Lord Zed. I always feel like they get so close with Lord Zed, and it's weird each time. It's just like suddenly they just get. I want to get season two Lord Zed again, where he's just ruthless, kind of Lord Zed. I really want to get to that point, but I would have it that he's gotten out somehow, right? Whatever, he's gone out somehow of that kind of dimension, and he's hell to pay basically, and he kills the Time Force Rangers bar from Jen, and she manages to get back in time. And then obviously that's how you bring in Wes again, who I also really like. I really love Wes, and I think he's one of my favorite Red Rangers. I would bring him back. I think he's fantastic. He was great as well, and he's come back kind of recent anniversary stuff, and he's really quite supportive in the Power Rangers kind of community and all that. So I would bring him back. I think the overall kind of show would kind of connect with obviously different dimensions. So I think you could also do the RPM in some form. You could see that. I know. What's the one now? What's the one with all the dinosaurs? That's terrible. It's not Dino Fury. That was the recent one. That's terrible. There was one where I know it's a different dimension where I didn't really watch that one, but I know there's another dimension where it's what if kind of dinosaurs did become extinct. And I think you could also do other dimensions as well, where it's like evil versions of Power Rangers or something like that. You could do maybe a kind of a hint to Lord Draken and stuff like that. I just think it would be a cool way to kind of incorporate the kind of heavy hitters of the show. Because like many of us, it's not just Mighty Morphin that we love. You know, I loved In Space. I love that cast. And Time Force I really love. There's many. And SPD I really love. But I think you could really bridge it all together. And I think this could, you could do something really fun with this show if they went for it. But sadly, I don't think it would really happen. Now on to the last bit of what will happen. I really don't know. I don't know. I've got a feeling Power Rangers is just going to slowly die a little bit, and I think it's a shame because there's actually quite a rich mythology in the show. There's some, if they really go for it, there's some good stuff they could really go for it, go with in the show. I think at least we might get this reboot, but I'm not feeling it with the way Netflix is just cancelling everything, and especially or when they will do a show and they'll just cancel it. Stop. I remember when I watched Glow and they just kind of stopped it after season 3, and there was meant to be another season to like cap the show off, and they just didn't. And that's kind of problem right now with the way companies seem to deal with shows right now, and it's a bit kind of annoying a little bit. But I think what will happen is I think we might get this reboot, and I think it probably won't work, and I think they might just go, we'll just start again with. I don't know what I think they might do is a little bit like RPM, where it's its own continuity a little bit. I could see that happening, and it's not actually in the same dimension as the kind of Mighty Morphin kind of era and kind of so on. I think it might be a bit like RPM, where they might just do its own, which also, to be honest, would probably still work at least. Where that's why RPM does kind of work, where it's not having to worry about anything around it, which I kind of love about RPM. It's a great season, that one. But yeah, I think that's what will happen. You either get the reboot will happen, and it might do really well, and you know, I don't want things to not succeed. You know, obviously, you know, it'll be great if it does happen, but if that doesn't, I think they might just kind of go back and just kind of, because by rights, Power Rangers is a very cheap show. You know, half the footage is obviously just from Super Sentai. I mean, more so, not so much as the years have kind of gone by. It's mostly, I remember rightly, just the kind of the Megazord footage seems to be more. Hence why when they do Megazord footage nowadays, it's CGI and it's not great. Sadly, I will always take a man in a suit any day, to be honest. But yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on what's next on the Power Rangers. I'd like to know what you guys think. Please comment down below. I'd love to know what you think on what you'd like to see. Do you like my idea? Do you like that kind of have a show called Power Rangers Legacy? I would quite like it, and they could do some really fun stuff with that, I think. So yeah, more videos in the future. More videos, definitely. I think I'm going to be doing on this one. I think the next one I want to do is about talking about Spider-Man is the kind of next one I want to kind of talk about. So yes, more videos in the future. And until then, see you later.